Have you ever wondered who made the first gaming keyboard? That's kind of a trick question because gaming keyboard can mean different things to different people, but I think I found it. This is the Logitech G15 and it means business. This keyboard is a product from 2005 and it effectively launched Logitech's currently very popular gaming division. So today we're gonna take a look at it, but in order to understand why they actually decided to manufacture this at all, we need to take a look at the history behind this and the era that spawned an insane product like this.
Det är det enda ni gör på dagarna. Ni sitter i där ventrilo och spelar Dota.
Vi sitter här i väntan.
No wait, I think you got the wrong door and country. And here. PC gaming in the early 2000s was a completely different beast compared to what it is today. The unique control scheme, aka mouse and keyboard, and the fact most families already owned a computer to do serious business stuff, effectively made computers the lowest barrier of entry for gaming. Combine this with the fact that from 2000 to 2005, more and more people started having broadband internet, so they could actually properly use the internet without having to wait 10 seconds for a single image to load. All of this stuff combined shaped what kind of games people were playing on computers, because using a keyboard and a mouse gives you way more precision controlling a game compared to a controller, which in turn has people potentially play more difficult games. And maybe these games are not even just made by companies. Think about Counter-Strike. Counter-Strike was a mod of Half-Life before eventually being acquired by Valve. Even the Dota was actually born as a mod for Warcraft 3. These were the years when esports were born. And shit was getting pretty serious pretty quickly. In 2000, South Korea created an official government body to train esports athletes for their national team. As a consequence of the 1997 Asian financial crisis, more and more young people without a job would spend hours on end in PC banks trying to practice their skills to eventually maybe become professional esports athletes. And it wasn't just Korea, by the way, this was happening pretty much all over the world. So knowing all of this, it is interesting to think about the fact that there weren't any real gaming keyboards or mice around. Going to a computer store, you wouldn't find any Republic of Gamers. How do I vote, by the way? You wouldn't find any MSI Tomahawk. You would find the Microsoft IntelliMouse. The premium mice and keyboards were meant for people who look like this. I was trying to look like Defense in Falling Down. They were meant for office work. It was essentially professional gear. You were paying a lot for a keyboard or mouse because you were supposed to make money with that keyboard or mouse. It was an investment. Companies like Logitech didn't think that anyone would spend hundreds of dollars to just buy a keyboard or a mouse to play games on it. It seemed silly until it stopped seeming silly.
So today on my video blog, I'm going to be unboxing a new product from SteelSeries. So this is the Siberia full-size headset, but what you probably can't...
In 2001, a Danish guy named Jacob has a problem with his balls. His computer balls. Well, back then, even for competitive Counter-Strike tournaments, a lot of people were still using ball mice. You know, the awful technology that stops working because dust gets stuck in the ball, and you either constantly clean the mouse every like 10 minutes or you're going to miss every single shot. Yeah, he wanted to fix that problem, and he fixed it by making glass mouse pads. So the company grows more and more and starts experimenting with different stuff, like making steel mouse pads, which also work great. But eventually, in 2004, they also want to try to expand outside of the entire mousepad zone by making other gaming-focused products. And they start doing so by selling the first gaming headset, the IceMat Siberia. This headset here is a huge hit. You're going to see it in every single clip of every single game tournament from 2004 onward. It is in the video of Dota by Base Hunter, and that's exactly why I got these headphones, just for that bit, because I am very precise when it comes to making very stupid jokes. But my point with this is that this company eventually grows so big they have to change name because IceMat was just too connected to making mousepads. And the name they choose is SteelSeries. That SteelSeries. By this point, it's around 2004, and Logitech wants to dip its toes into the gaming market, but without risking too much. In order to have a somewhat risk-free start, they take an existing product, the MX500 mouse, they give it a slight upgrade in specs, and they also make it look a bit more gamer-like. It was too early for RGB, okay? You either get red or blue. They start selling it in 2004, and gamers love it. They start buying it like crazy. Gaming Nexus gives it a 9.4. So the following year, Logitech launches the MX518. This is yet another upgrade on the same design. For some reason, they made it look like the metal texture in every Source Engine game. This is the mouse that 30-year-old boomer gamers refer to when they say,
oh, they don't make them like they used to.
but yeah, this thing starts selling way more than the MX510. Like, we're talking 16.4 million units in 6 years. So after launching this mouse in 2005, Logitech wants to keep control on this new computer gaming peripheral market. But more and more companies are coming out of left field to try and get Logitech's ass. Hello boss, yeah, I wanted to tell you that the new media keyboard we're working on is terrific. I think graphic designers are going to love it. I just had a very unpleasant morning because of a Razer. Oh my god, are you okay? Razer is a nimble but growing Singaporean American company that is currently threatening our market share because they are targeting the young male demographic playing online Windows computer games. Okay, so why are you calling me about this? I think it would be wise for our company to answer to this looming threat with a so-called balls to the walls approach, just launching several products at once. Okay, so some new MX products. We will be actually launching a dedicated subdivision of the company for this adult toys, and it's gonna be called G. Oh, like game? Yes, like Geneva here in Switzerland. Yeah, Geneva, right. Your colleagues, Luca and Bob, are already working on two mice. So you are going to be working on a keyboard designed for this gaming segment. I have to tell you, I don't really know what these people want. That's not going to be a problem. If you don't succeed in 2 weeks, we are just going to relocate you to a different employer. Yeah, never mind. I think I can do it. I have Thank you for your cooperation. The entire company is counting on your work. No worries, consider this done. Okay, so imagine you're this Logitech engineer who's been tasked with making a gaming keyboard from scratch in a world where gaming keyboards are not a thing. Okay, there was a Cytec keyboard which was sold to gamers, but it was just a fancy normal keyboard. So how would you design a keyboard for PC gamers? What would you do? You would add maybe more keys, maybe a gaming switch for those heated gamer moments. You would put a USB hub in it to, I don't know, make the gamers connect even more stuff to their computer, to their keyboard. Maybe you would put a screen on it so that you can check your health or chat messages or fucking Ventrilo while you play. What do you think Logitech did? They did all of them at the same time. This keyboard is fucking huge. Everything about this keyboard is so goddamn ridiculous. I can't help but love it. Let's get one thing out of the way first. This is not a mechanical keyboard. It's a membrane keyboard just like any other office keyboard from the era. It is, however, one of the best membrane keyboards I've ever used. I've tried typing on this side by side with my Apple Maker, and on Monkey Type I got pretty much the same typing speed. I could probably type all day on this and never complain. It's way better than any of the keyboards I've used growing up. But of course, this keyboard ain't made for typing, chief. It's actually made for the Geneva Convention breaking. So I tried playing some multiplayer games with this, and it is honestly great. No delay, no missed inputs, it's just a keyboard. It works. Actually, the fact that it's not mechanical makes it very silent, so if you're like a teenager who wants to stay up all night playing games with their personal Discord eager kitten, definitely not a Polish guy catfishing to get Discord Nitro, you can get one of these and not wake up your parents. It is huge. Like, you know how everyone nowadays is using small 40% Mac Teeny keyboards? This thing is like 120. It has 18 extra keys here. It doesn't give a fuck about how much space it is occupying on a desk. I think we can safely call this a 120% because it has every single QWERTY key, but also dedicated media controls, and it also has 18 G keys with 3 configurable profiles. So they are effectively working as 54 different customizable keys. Despite being a product from 2005, this keyboard is still fully supported on the latest version of Logitech gaming software. So using it, you get access to this insanely customizable G keys configuration. The software automatically downloads several ready-to-use video game profiles, but most of these games are pretty old or the profiles are outdated. That is not a problem, however, because configuring each one of the keys or the key profiles for each different game is very, very easy. You can do it yourself in like 5 minutes. You can set every one of these keys to work as one key press or one key combo press, or even mouse movements, mouse clicks. You can even write small scripts in Lua to make the keyboard do whatever you want. My favorite thing is actually binding the keys to the F13 to F24 on Windows. These keys are normally unused in Windows, so you can actually bind them to whatever the fuck you want. But I personally noticed that a lot of programs for some reason don't actually recognize them. It's kind of weird. I also had some issues binding the shortcuts for copy and paste. For some reason they never work for me, even though some other shortcuts, like the ones to open a specific browser page, actually do. It's kind of hit or miss, and I think this might have to do with the fact that I'm using Windows 11 that is known for breaking random stuff sometimes. But the G keys actually have one specific feature that I think makes this keyboard worth it just for this feature alone. And that is, it can type out entire blocks of text for you. You press one key and the keyboard just drops an entire copy pasta in your friend's chat. This is amazing. Just be very, very careful to never ever accidentally press one of the G keys when you have the wrong application running. I'm not responsible if something bad happens to you because you accidentally sent your boss a copy pasta or some shit. And if you're wondering, yes, you can actually use the text block feature to have your keyboard draw ASCII art for you. It's actually great. Of course, from such power comes great responsibility. So don't be fucking degenerates, but use this to draw with Mario or some shit, something funny. But Femi, what about us Mac and Linux users? Are we going to be second-class citizens? Okay, so apparently Linux got native support for this keyboard since 2019 in the kernel, so like, go nuts with it. It seems to be working great. There's an official application for Mac, and it seems to be working even on the most recent machines, but you need some workarounds, so yeah, I haven't tried that myself. I didn't want to subject myself to that. You call this the first gaming keyboard, but I haven't seen any RGB yet. And I can't use this keyboard in front of my parents with no RGB. They would disown me. Well, my sister, back in my days when I was 7, we didn't have RGB. This keyboard only has B for blue. You get 3 levels of 1 and 2. But they also control this. I bet your fucking gaming keyboard doesn't have this, huh? And now let's talk about the big thing you were all waiting for. The screen. This screen is, functionally speaking, very dumb. Or as the kids would say, no thought had until... Because it is completely controlled by your computer. It is entirely controlled using USB. If you don't send it any signal, it's just going to default to this Logitech logo here, which is just pre-installed, but it's the only thing it can display without a software driving it. Thankfully, the software is also available for Windows 11 64-bit, so I have it here on my Steam Deck, and we can take a look at every pre-installed applet here. So the first one is this clock, and it is just a clock, but it has this cool thing where I can put some stars around it, and there we go. It is now officially part of the European Union. We conquered it. I'm sorry, you can't do anything about it. The second applet here is this countdown / stopwatch, which just does what you think. You press here and it's a countdown, you press here and it's a stopwatch. Using the Logitech software here, you can change. So here, for example, I put weed and Mario, which are 2 completely unrelated words that don't have any meaning when they're stuck together. Then we have this performance monitor, which is pretty self-explanatory. It's very simple. It doesn't really provide you with a lot of in-depth info, but it's cool to have it here. It's a vibe. Then we have the media display here, which only works with older versions of Windows Media Player and Winamp. I actually have a working alternative, and I'm going to show you later. The final pre-installed applet is the Logitech RSS reader. So in case you don't know what RSS is, it's essentially a very old way of sending news and news titles in a standardized format. You can actually make your own RSS feed with whatever you want. Like, for example, for my last video, I showcased one with my own tweets. Now, I would show you this with actual real news, but the kind of news these days would probably get me instantly demonetized, so I have an alternative. So yeah, we have the Dracula Flow bot here, and we can just read every single quote here, like, I just popped a whole garbanzo bean, f*** you man. This ain't nothing to me, man. You stupid piece of top shelf Zaza disrupted my circadian rhythm. Yeah, as you can see, you can read your favorite news here. It works perfectly. Quick interjection, here's Femi from the editing room. While editing, I realized that I didn't show you the actual last pre-installed Logitech applet because it is a POP3 email client. And POP3 is kind of unsafe nowadays. I didn't even bother trying it, but for the sake of completion, I need to say that, yeah, you could potentially use this, but you definitely shouldn't. Hey, it's Microsoft SQL Server 2005 Femi back once again because we're gonna talk about gaming now. We're gonna see what games still actually support this piece of engineering here. Now, according to the internet, and by that I mean if you Google Logitech G15 compatible games, a lot of games are still compatible with this. So on paper, everything should work. But we don't live on fucking paper! It is very difficult to find multiplayer games that still actively support this keyboard because most of them either are games I have no idea how to play or they are simply not around anymore. So for my testing, I decided to stick to single player and I actually found a great game to test this keyboard with. Okay, yeah, great wasn't really the right word there. Duke Nukem Forever. Me and my sister used to be super hyped for this game. We got it on Xbox 360 and it sucked. It's a terrible game that I just bought again on Steam because I need to show it for this video. When you boot the game, it instantly recognizes the keyboard and shows you a dedicated applet on the screen, first showing you the Duke Nukem logo and then the most basic information ever. You can tell no effort was put in this because they didn't even change the standard SDK font. Like, come on! I actually did manage to find a good game that supports this keyboard and that's Fear 2, and yeah, this is definitely more like it. Look, on paper, when this keyboard was new and you could actually use it with Counter-Strike and stuff, having your health and ammo displayed on the keyboard could have been cool. Not practical, but cool. But sadly, that time seems to be long gone, and unless developers right now start making new applets to support new games, yeah, this thing is pretty much kinda useless. On the keyboard you can find this gaming switch that sounds super cool but just turns off the Windows keys. I actually got this keyboard with the intention of using it playing Minecraft, like older versions of Minecraft with my friends, because there used to be a working applet for those versions, so on paper it would still work today, but that applet was partially cloud-based, so yeah, it's dead. The servers are not there anymore. But what about community-made applets that are not connected to gaming? The keyboard actually came with its own SDK because you can actually write software for this thing, or potentially just download applets made by the community. I don't know shit about coding, I just know some HTML from my cute blog era and some like Python I learned by mistake, but after reading the SDK manual and torturing ChatGPT, I was able to make something that works. Back in the old days, there used to be a lot of communities that worked on these applets and you could find them easily, but most of these websites are now dead, so we have to time travel, and by that I mean go to the Wayback Machine. By inputting this URL in the Wayback Machine, we can actually access this now dead German forum that used to host all sorts of applets. And here I need to give you a warning. A lot of applets here were actually malware. Some of them are marked, some are not. So if you actually want to download stuff off here, be very, very, very careful. That said, let me show you some cute and cool applets I found. G15 Pic Loader lets you display pictures on your G15. That's it. It takes a lot of trial and error to make it run on your specific system because of 64-bit, 32-bit, but being able to display any image on the screen makes it worth it. Surreal's applet is a multi-function applet that does a lot of things. It's intended as a replacement for every single Logitech applet in one single package, but it also lets you display more system info and also change audio outputs, which is very cool, even though for me it doesn't work because my audio configuration is a mess on Windows. G15 Task Manager in theory is very cool, but I don't understand German and it glitches out my keyboard screen for some reason. The Foobar 2000 component for the G15 doesn't even need to be downloaded through shady websites. It's actually available through the official Foobar website to this day, and it still works, and it is an amazing replacement to the stock Logitech one. It even has visualizations. How fucking cool is that? Finally, speaking of vintage applets, I want to mention that a lot of legacy overclocking software that is still updated to this day, like MSI Afterburner, natively supports the keyboard and lets you display all sorts of info about your system right there, which might be super useful if you're a hardcore overclocker. But what if I told you that some people are actually making modern applets for this keyboard? My favorite modern applet is Spotify 15, which by using the Spotify API lets you display Spotify track information on your screen and actually control Spotify. You can even like and dislike songs, and I actually use this pretty often because I like keeping Spotify radio on the background when I do something else, and using Spotify 15, if I hear something I like, I can immediately just at a glance know exactly what track is playing and even add it to my liked songs for the future. Another insanely useful modern applet is the OBS G15 plugin that lets you control an entire live stream from your keyboard. It hasn't been updated in years, but it still works, and I think this plugin alone makes the G15 keyboard actually the best keyboard for a dedicated streaming computer. Let's finally talk about the USB ports here on the keyboard. So are these two USB ports here any good? Well, yeah, they are definitely USB ports. They work, but they are USB 1.1. You're not going to use them even just to copy data on a pen drive. They are way too slow. The only viable use case would be connecting other peripherals like a mouse, not even a good mouse, or maybe you can connect another keyboard. Yeah, you're not seeing double. This is a G11. It is a G15 without the screen. Logitech started making this in 2006 and they are literally the same keyboard except for the screen. But yeah, you could potentially just daisy chain these two keyboards for no fucking reason and they would work. Okay, Fami, we got this. This is the greatest keyboard ever. Or is it? Why haven't more keyboards been made with this screen if it's so useful? Ha! They did make more keyboards with this screen. They made a second version of the G15 in 2007, which I don't like because I prefer the raised blue backlight screen. This one looks too, I don't know, Windows Vista Gaming compared to boomer shooter Windows XP Gaming. Then they also made the G13, which is like still pretty expensive on the used market, and it is basically just a dedicated G keys panel. It's actually pretty cool. They also made the G510, which is just a reincarnation of the G15. It's the same keyboard, but better. And they only stopped making the G510 not too many years ago. They replaced the entire screen thing with a phone holder and an app, which is sad, but that's how life goes now, I guess. Okay, Fami, fair enough. But if this LCD technology was so useful, why wasn't it ever used outside of gaming products, huh? May I present to you the Logitech Z10. They are G15 speakers. G15 speakers. This product is so ridiculous. I actually went and bought these speakers like 5 minutes within me knowing they existed, because they are literally a pair of very good USB speakers. They actually have their own audio interface with a built-in EQ. They are that. They have an audio output for headphones on the speakers. They have an audio input in the back. But they are also G15 speakers. You can run applets on them. They have the orange backlight screen like the second revision of the G15. But the thing that makes them cool is that they are speakers able to run G15 music visualization applets on them. And they do that while having a dedicated USB audio interface and sounding great. They run using this modified version of the gaming software, which is de-gamified, but can actually handle both the G15 and the speakers at the same time, which is super cool. The problem with this software, however, is that it seems to be very picky with what applets it can run and not run. If you come close, I'm gonna tell you a secret. If you downgrade to this older version of Logitech LCD Manager, Spotify 15 and other applets are going to run for some reason. Like they don't work on the latest version, but they do here. So yeah, these speakers are actually still worth it. So in conclusion, should you actually buy this keyboard in 2024? Depending on who you are, either no or yes, because if you're just looking to buy this and using it as a serious daily driver keyboard, expecting for it to work and for modern games to support the screen with like applets and stuff, This thing is simply too old. My unit is literally falling apart. I mean, it still works, but the backlights are constantly flickering. But let's say you're a developer. Let's say you're someone who actually wants to effectively write new software, new applets for this using the Logitech SDK. Or you're simply a person who wants to try to use this with all their games, all their applets. In that case, yeah, you should get this to tinker. It's a fun experience. I got this for like 15 euros, which is very cheap, and I don't regret it. But there's actually a product that I would recommend to anyone here, and that is the Logitech Z10 speakers, because they are genuinely great. Like, the sound is great, they have a built-in EQ, and the fact they can run music applets to display the track you're currently playing is insane. Like, if you find those, get them. You're not going to be using them with games, you're gonna be using them with like Spotify and media applets, and those get updated less frequently. That said, thank you so much for watching and helping me make videos about just whatever I find interesting, and especially thanks to my Patreons that financially support me and help me buy stuff that I find interesting to make videos on. Actually, I'm editing a small extra video right now just for Patreon about this Wii cordless keyboard. So if you want to check out some behind the scenes stuff, some extra content, you can go to notaponziski.me and join the Patreon today. That said, I spent a few months researching this video. I'm gonna take a small break from Logitech keyboards for now, but you know which one is coming up next, right?